Hello and welcome back to the Coffee Buzz. I'm glad you're here. This is a small pause in your day, a few minutes to slow down, breathe, and just sit with a verse from the Tao Te Ching. No program to follow, no productivity hacks, just some space to think. Today is verse 3 from Stephen Mitchell's translation. You know, I've been thinking about how much energy we put into wanting things. Not just material things, but status, recognition, being seen as smart or successful or worthy. And what's interesting is how much of that wanting gets shaped by what we see other people wanting. Let's read the verse. If you overesteem great men, people become powerless. If you overvalue possessions, people begin to steal. The master leads by emptying people's minds and filling their cores, by weakening their ambition and toughening their resolve. He helps people lose everything they know, everything they desire, and creates confusion in those who think that they know. Practice not doing, and everything will fall into place. And that's verse 3. Now this one might sound a little harsh at first. Emptying minds, weakening ambitions, creating confusion. It doesn't exactly sound like the kind of leadership advice you would find in a business book. But I think Lao Tzu is pointing to something that we all kind of know, but don't often say out loud. A lot of our suffering, maybe most of it, comes from comparison, from measuring ourselves against other people, from wanting what they have, from thinking we need to be more like them to matter. The verse starts with, if you overesteem great men, people become powerless. Think about that. When we put certain people on pedestals, celebrities, experts, influencers, whatever, we're also doing something to ourselves. We're saying, they have something I don't. They're special in a way that I'm not. And suddenly we feel smaller. Not because we actually are smaller, but because we've handed our power over to an image, to an idea of what success or worth or greatness looks like. You open Instagram and you see someone's beautiful kitchen remodel, or you're scrolling through LinkedIn and someone just got promoted to VP, and suddenly your perfectly fine kitchen, your perfectly fine job feels small. Not because anything actually changed in your life, but because you measured yourself against someone else's highlight reel. Same thing with possessions. If you overvalue possessions, people begin to steal. Not necessarily literal stealing, but the stealing of our peace of mind. When we believe that happiness lives inside the next purchase, the next upgrade, the next thing that we don't have yet, we're always reaching, always lacking. So what does the master do? According to the verse, the wise leader doesn't add more noise to the system, doesn't dangle carrots, doesn't create more competition, more striving, more wanting. Instead, the master leads by emptying people's minds and filling their cores. I love that line. Emptying the mind doesn't mean making people ignorant. It means clearing out all the clutter, the comparisons, the status games, the endless mental chatter about who's ahead and who's behind. In filling their cores, That's about getting people back in touch with what's real, what's solid, what actually sustains them. That's not surface stuff, that's deep stuff. By weakening their ambition and toughening their resolve. Now that's an interesting pair. Weakening ambition sounds like giving up, right? Like settling or being lazy. But I don't think that's what Lao Tzu means. I think he's talking about the kind of ambition that's all ego, all comparison, all I need to be better than them. I need to win. I need to prove something. That kind of ambition is exhausting and it's never satisfied. You hit one goal and immediately there's another one, someone else to beat, some new way to feel like you're not enough yet. But resolve, that's different. Resolve is inner. It's steady. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about showing up, doing what needs doing, not because you'll get applause, but because it's yours to do. You can have resolve without ambition. You can be committed without being competitive. Now here's the line that I want to sit with for a moment, because I think it's the most surprising in the whole verse. He helps people lose everything they know, everything they desire, and creates confusion in those who think that they know. That sounds almost cruel, doesn't it? Like the master is pulling the rug out from under people. But notice something. It says, those who think that they know. Not the sincere seeker, not the person who's genuinely trying to understand. The confusion is aimed at those who've stopped questioning, the ones who've mistaken their opinions for truth. And I think we all do this from time to time. We build up a picture of how things work, what success looks like, what a good life looks like, what we're supposed to want. And at some point, that picture hardens. It stops being a working theory and starts feeling like fact. And the master disrupts all that, not out of cruelty, but out of care. Because real knowing, the kind that actually serves you, always starts with sitting with how much you don't know. So much of what we think we know is just conditioning. Stories we picked up from our families, from the culture, from the voices that were the loudest when we were young. And so much of what we think we desire isn't really ours. It's borrowed. It's what we've been taught to want. The master helps people let go of all that. Not to leave them empty, but to make room for what's actually true. I want to tell you a story about someone I knew. He was in his early 40s, working in finance, the kind of person who always seemed to have a plan. And he did, a very specific one. The director title by 40, the 6-figure salary, the house in the right neighborhood, and he could describe it down to the kind of street it was on, the kind of car in the driveway. And over about 15 years, he got all of it, just one piece at a time, the way that he had it all mapped out. And I remember running into him, and right around the time the last piece fell into place, we got coffee, and I was expecting him to seem settled, like a guy who had arrived somewhere. Instead, he was quiet in a way that I hadn't seen before. And then he said something that stuck with me. I think I've been running someone else's race, and I got really good at it, but it was never mine. He wasn't talking about his career being wrong exactly, or the house being a mistake. It wasn't that simple. It was more like the whole framework, that he was optimizing for, what he was measuring himself against, what success was supposed to be like, he had inherited all of it from his father, from his family, from the industry, from some half-formed idea of what a person his age, in his position, was supposed to be. He overvalued it. He overestimated what it could do for him. And when he finally got there, he found himself standing in the right neighborhood, in the right house, wondering, whose life is this? Now, I don't tell this story to be discouraging. My friend is fine. In fact, he's more than fine. That conversation was kind of a turning point for him. He started asking different questions. Not how do I get further ahead, but what do I actually care about? Not what does success look like, but what would enough feel like? And I think that's what this verse is pointing at. Not that ambition is bad, not that building things or wanting things is wrong, but that when we inherit our desires wholesale, we run someone else's race without ever asking if it's ours. We can spend 15 years working hard to arrive somewhere we never actually wanted to go. The master, in Lao Tzu's sense, is the thing that stops you, the thing that creates just enough confusion to make you ask the question, whose desires are they really? The last line is very simple. Practice without doing, and everything will fall into place. Not doing, that's Wu Wei again. Not forcing, not striving, not pushing the river. Just be present to what's here. Do what needs doing without all the extra noise. And trusting that when you stop chasing, stop comparing, stop trying so hard to be impressive, things have a way of finding their own order. Not because you made it happen, but because you stopped getting in the way. It's a hard thing to trust because we live in a world that tells us the opposite. The world we live in says, hustle harder, want more, be better, keep up. But maybe, just for today, you can set that down for a minute. You can stop measuring yourself against everyone else. You can stop chasing what you think you're supposed to want and just ask, what's real for me? What actually fills my core? Thank you for spending a few quiet minutes with me. This has been the Coffee Buzz Podcast. And until next time, may your mind be empty and your core be full.